Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to break down the key updates to the social science economics curriculum for classes 9 and 10. These are rolling out for the 2025-26 academic year, so if you're an educator, you are definitely in the right place. So, you've probably heard the buzz about the curriculum getting an update to align with the new National Curriculum Framework. But what does that actually mean for your classroom? Let's jump in and unpack the changes you really need to know about.
Right, but before we get into the nitty-gritty of what's new, it's super important to understand the why. What's the big idea behind these revisions? Because it's definitely not just change for the sake of change.
And this quote really hits the nail on the head. We're not looking at a situation where you have to throw out everything you've been teaching. The core concepts, they're still there. It's much more of a significant evolution, a refinement really, designed to make the whole framework better reflect the world our students are actually living in today.
It all boils down to three big ideas. First, making economics feel relevant to what students see on the news and in their own lives. Second, a major shift towards building practical, real-world skills. And third, just making the goals of the curriculum way clearer for everybody, teachers and students alike.
All right, so now that we know why the changes are happening, let's get into the fun part. What's actually different inside the textbook chapters themselves?
One of the most thoughtful updates, I think, is how we discuss poverty. The curriculum now brings in the multi-dimensional poverty index. This is a huge shift away from just looking at income. It encourages students to see poverty for what it is, a really complex issue that touches health, education, and basic living standards.
And this is just a perfect example of that push for relevance we were talking about. The textbook now literally connects the dots between the chapter on poverty and the UN's global goal to end it. It shows students that what they're learning is part of a massive worldwide effort. It just gives their learning so much more purpose.
Now, let's talk about the money and credit chapter, because it's gotten a serious digital upgrade. Including UPI isn't just some minor tweak, it's a real game changer. It connects abstract economic theory directly to that QR code they see at the local shop, making the whole concept of money immediate and, well, real.
And the scope of financial literacy is getting bigger too. By bringing in things like non-banking financial companies and the super important role of the RBI in managing inflation, students are going to get a much more complete and realistic picture of India's entire financial ecosystem.
The chapter on globalization is also getting a major dose of 21st century reality. It's been modernized to include the roles of the WTO and FDI, and, crucially, it now talks about the real-world impact of things like the pandemic on global supply chains, something students have literally watched happen.
So when you lay it all out like this, you really start to see the pattern, don't you? In every single area, we're moving from foundational, almost historical concepts to applied contemporary issues. We're going from basic banking to the complexities of digital finance, from a simple intro to trade to the messy realities of today's supply chains. The whole focus is on the now.
Okay, so if what we're teaching is changing, it only makes sense that how we test that knowledge has to change too, right? The updates aren't just in the textbook. There's an equally important shift in how we measure what students have learned.
The big idea here is to move our students away from just, memorizing definitions and get them to actually use economic concepts. And to make this easier for everyone, CBSE is even providing templates to help structure these new project-based assessments, which is a huge help. So what does this actually look like in a classroom? Well, imagine this. Instead of just reading a paragraph about the changing sectors of the Indian economy, students are now asked to get their hands dirty with the data, to plot it, to analyze it, and to draw their own conclusions. They basically become little economic detectives.
So we're talking about a whole new toolbox for assessment here. Things like in-class projects, presentations, and even mapping a product supply chain. And it's all designed to build that toolkit of really valuable skills: analysis, communication, and connecting big ideas to local life.
Okay, that all sounds great on paper, but what does it actually mean for you on a busy Tuesday morning in your classroom? Let's talk about how this all translates into an actionable toolkit that you can actually use.
So here are 3 practical steps you can take. First, bring these concepts home. Integrate local data, maybe with a quick survey of local shops. Second, absolutely use those CBSE templates to make your life easier with projects. And third, make a little time for data literacy. A bit of practice plotting graphs goes a really long way. So, if you remember one thing from all this, let it be this. The core economic concepts you've been teaching are still there, but the delivery system has been seriously upgraded.
It's all about using modern examples, local data, and skill-based projects to make economics come alive for a whole new generation.
And in the end, all these evolutionary changes, all this work, it all comes down to answering this one fundamental question. The goal isn't just to teach economics anymore. It's to give students the relevant knowledge and the practical skills they actually need to understand, navigate, and maybe even shape the economy of their future.